Everyone ignored the painting. That's what bothered Mira the most. It hung crookedly in the corner of the second-hand art shop, half hidden behind a rack of dusty frames and chipped mirrors. People walked past it without even glancing. Some brushed against it with their coats and didn't notice. Others looked straight through it, like it wasn't there at all. But Mira noticed. She always noticed the things no one else did. She was 26, broke, recently fired, and living in a city that had stopped feeling like home. Her job at the publishing house had disappeared 2 months earlier, and since then her days were spent drifting through streets and shops she couldn't afford, pretending she still belonged. That afternoon, rain pressed softly against the windows of Rook and Rust Antiques. The bell above the door chimed when she stepped inside, and the air smelled like old paper and forgotten years. She wasn't looking for anything in particular, until the painting found her. It was small, no larger than a laptop, framed in dull wood, cracked at the corners. The image showed a woman sitting in a chair by a window, her hands folded in her lap. At first glance, it was ordinary. Too ordinary. Muted colors, pale skin, dark hair pulled back, a simple dress, a simple room. But something about her eyes stopped Mira cold. They weren't sad. They weren't angry. They were waiting. Like the woman in the painting had been interrupted in the middle of a secret. Mira stepped closer. The brushstrokes were old, the paint uneven, but the detail in the woman's face was careful, intentional. The longer Mira looked, the more uncomfortable she felt. It was like the painting was watching her back. Strange one, isn't it? Mira flinched. An old man stood behind the counter, thin, gray-haired, eyes too sharp for his age. "I didn't hear you," Mira said. "Most people don't," he replied. "They don't," he shrugged, "because it doesn't want to be seen." Mira laughed nervously. "Paintings don't want things. Most don't," the man said. "That one does." She looked back at the painting. "How much?" The man hesitated. $5. Mira blinked. "5? It's been here for years," he said. "No one buys it. No one even asks about it. I stopped trying to sell it." Mira frowned. "Why keep it?" The man's eyes flicked to the painting. "I think it's waiting for the right person." A chill ran through her. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the last of her cash. "I'll take it." Her apartment was small. One room, one window, too quiet at night. She leaned the painting against the wall near her desk, planning to hang it later. That night, she dreamed of the woman in the painting, not moving, not blinking, just sitting, waiting. Mira woke up at 3:17 a.m. with her heart pounding. The room felt different, too still. She sat up. The painting was no longer leaning against the wall. It was hanging above her desk, straight, centered, perfect. Mira stared at it. She was sure she hadn't hung it. Her hands were sweaty. "Okay," she whispered. "I'm tired, that's all." She got out of bed and turned on the lamp. The woman in the painting looked the same. But her eyes, they felt closer. Over the next few days, strange things began to happen. The painting always seemed to be in a slightly different place. Not much, just enough for Mira to doubt herself. The angle changed. The height shifted. The lighting around it felt wrong. And then there was the sound. At night, when the city went quiet, Mira would hear it. A soft, dry whisper. Not words, not yet, just breath. She told herself it was the pipes, the walls, her imagination. But one evening, while working at her laptop, she heard something else. A tap, soft, from the direction of the painting. Tap, tap, tap. Mira froze. She slowly turned her head. The painting was still. Silent. She waited. Nothing. She shook her head and went back to typing. Then she noticed something on the canvas that hadn't been there before. A thin dark line, just above the woman's folded hands. Mira stood and stepped closer. The line wasn't paint. It was a crack, or a word. Her breath caught. She leaned in. The letters were faint, almost hidden in the texture of the brushstrokes, but they were there, written into the paint. HELPME. Mira stumbled back. "No," she whispered. Her hands were shaking. She grabbed her phone and turned on the flashlight. The letters faded when the light hit them. Gone. She turned the lamp off. They came back. "Help me." Her heart raced. This was impossible. Paintings don't change. They don't whisper. They don't ask for help. Mira stared at the woman's face. Her eyes weren't waiting anymore. They were pleading. She didn't sleep that night. She sat on her bed, watching the painting until morning. The next day, she took it off the wall and laid it flat on the table. She examined every inch. Nothing. No writing. No cracks. Just paint. Then how? She whispered. She searched online. Hidden messages in paintings. Paintings with secret writing. Art that changes at night. Most of it was nonsense. But one article stopped her. Infrared-activated ink used in 19th century art for secret communication. Her pulse quickened. She scrolled. The ink appeared only in low light. It faded under direct brightness. Like the words she saw. Mira swallowed. She turned off all the lights. Closed the curtains. Let the room sink into shadow. Then she waited. Slowly. Letters bled through the paint again. This time, more than before. Not just 2 words. A sentence. Her chest tightened as she read. Help me. He is still here. Mira stepped back. Who? She whispered. Her phone buzzed. A notification. Unknown email. No subject line. Just one line of text inside. You shouldn't have bought the painting. Mira dropped the phone. Her breath came fast and shallow. The room felt colder. The woman in the painting was no longer sitting calmly. Her expression had changed. Her mouth was slightly open. Like she was about to speak. And this time, Mira was sure. The whisper wasn't the house. It was the painting. Mira didn't answer the email. She couldn't. Her fingers hovered over the phone screen for a long time, shaking, before she finally locked it and placed it face down on the table. You shouldn't have bought the painting. The words replayed in her head like a warning carved into bone. She stood in the middle of her apartment, every light turned off except for the dim glow of the street lamp bleeding through the curtains. The room felt smaller now, thicker, like the air had weight. She looked at the painting. The woman inside it was no longer still, not completely. Her head was angled slightly toward the edge of the canvas, as if she were listening. Mira. The sound was so soft she thought she imagined it. She swallowed. Did you say something? She whispered. Silence. Then again. Mira. Her blood turned cold. The voice was inside the room. Not loud, not clear, but real. She backed away until her shoulders hit the wall. Who are you? She asked, her voice barely steady. The woman in the painting didn't move her mouth, but the whisper came again. Please, don't let him see me. Myra's heart slammed against her ribs. Who? She demanded. The painted woman's eyes flicked to the corner of the room, the darkest corner. He's still here. The painted woman's voice trembled. He does. Myra's breath came fast. Who is he? The woman's eyes filled with something like fear. My husband. Myra's knees felt weak. Your husband is in my apartment? The whisper hesitated. He's in the house. In the walls. In the dark places. Mira looked around wildly. Stop, she whispered. You're not real. This isn't real. The woman's gaze softened. I was real, she said, before he made me quiet. Mira felt tears burn in her eyes. What did he do to you? The whisper came slower now. Like each word hurt. He watched me. He controlled me. He painted me the way he wanted me to be. Mira frowned. Painted you? Yes, the woman said. This isn't how I looked. This is how he wanted me to look. Mira stepped closer to the canvas. The woman's face was too smooth, too still, too perfect. What's your name? Mira asked. A pause. Then, Clara. The name echoed in the quiet room. Clara what? Mira asked. The woman didn't answer. Her eyes darted again to the corner. Don't make him angry, she whispered. Mira turned sharply. Who are you talking about? Before the whisper could answer, a sound came from behind Mira. A footstep. In the hallway. Her heart nearly stopped. She spun around. The hallway was empty, but the floorboard creaked again. Slow. Heavy. Like someone was shifting their weight. Mira backed toward the painting. Clara, she whispered. Is he here? The whisper came instantly. Yes. Myra's breath caught in her throat. I can't see him. You're not supposed to, Clara said. Only I can. Mira pressed her back to the wall. Then tell me where he is. Clara's eyes tracked something moving across the room. Behind you. Mira screamed. She turned. Nothing. Empty space. Her phone buzzed again. She looked down. Another email. She's trying to use you. Myra's hands shook. Use me for what? She whispered. The painting answered before the email could. To leave. Mira frowned. Leave where? Clara's voice broke. This. The word echoed. This. Leave the painting? Mira asked. Yes, Clara said. I'm trapped in it. Mira stared at her. That's impossible. It wasn't always, Clara whispered. He made it so. Your husband? Yes. Myra's mind raced. You're saying, he put you inside a painting? Not my body, Clara said. My voice. My memory. My truth. Mira shook her head. That doesn't make sense. Clara's eyes burned. He erased me, she whispered. This is what's left. Mira didn't know what to believe. A haunted painting. A dead woman. A husband in the shadows. Or someone playing a very sick joke. She needed proof. Clara, she said slowly, if you're real, tell me something only you would know. The woman's lips trembled. I had a son, she whispered. He was 6 when I disappeared. Myra's chest tightened. What was his name? The whisper came with a sob in it. Ethan. Myra's phone buzzed again. Her heart pounded as she looked at the email. She never had a son. Mira stared at the screen, then at the painting. Clara, she said, they say you're lying. The woman's eyes filled with tears. He took him from me, she whispered. He took everything. The lights flickered. The room grew colder. And then, a new line appeared beneath the first message on the canvas. Not written in faint ink, but in dark red. Like dried blood. Myra's breath stopped as she read. Find him. Mira stepped back, heart racing. Find who? Clara looked at her. And for the first time, she smiled. Not gently, not kindly, but with something desperate and sharp. My husband. Mira didn't turn the lights back on. She stood there in the half-dark, staring at the painting as if it might blink again. The words find him still glowed faintly on the canvas, like they had been burned into the paint. Her heart was beating too fast, too loud. Find him, she whispered. Find who, Clara? The woman in the painting was quiet now. Her mouth was closed. Her eyes were calm again, too calm, like nothing had just happened. Mira backed away from the wall. Don't do that, she said softly. Don't go quiet on me. No answer. She grabbed her jacket and keys. If this was real, if Clara had existed, then there had to be a record, a name, a life. Mira stepped out into the night. The city library was open late. The old kind. Tall shelves, wooden tables, lamps that cast small circles of light like islands in a dark sea. Mira sat at a computer and typed. Clara missing woman painting husband. Too many results. None useful. She tried again. Woman disappeared after painting husband artist. Still nothing. Then she typed something different. Clara missing artist wife vanished. A single result appeared. A local news archive from 15 years ago. Mira clicked. The headline made her stomach drop. Local artist's wife disappears. Police suspect no foul play. She opened it. Clara Whitmore, 29, wife of painter Julian Whitmore, was reported missing last night after neighbors noticed unusual silence in the couple's home. Julian Whitmore claims Clara left voluntarily. No evidence of a struggle has been found. Police say the case remains open. Myra's hands trembled. Clara Whitmore, she whispered. So she was real. She scrolled. A photo loaded. Clara. Not painted. Not perfect. Just human. Messy hair. Soft eyes. A faint scar on her chin. Mira felt something twist in her chest. She printed the article and stood up. Her legs felt weak. Back in her apartment, Mira placed the paper on the table beneath the painting. Your name was Clara Whitmore, she said quietly. The woman's eyes in the painting shifted. Yes, the whisper replied. Mira swallowed. Your husband was Julian Whitmore. He was an artist. Clara's face darkened. He still is, she said. Mira leaned closer. Where is he, Clara? The whisper came slow. He never left me. Mira felt a chill. What do you mean? He visits, Clara said. He stands in front of me. He talks to me. He tells me how beautiful I look when I'm quiet. Myra's stomach turned. You're saying he still has the painting? Clara's eyes flicked to the frame. He did, she whispered. Until you took me. Myra's heart skipped. You mean, the painting used to belong to him? Yes. Mira felt sick. Then how did it end up in that shop? Clara hesitated. He sold me, she said. After he finished with me. Mira clenched her fists. Finished with you how? Clara didn't answer. The room felt heavier. Then the whisper came again. He hid the truth under the paint. Myra's eyes narrowed. What truth? The real picture. Mira stared at the canvas. What real picture? Clara's voice was barely sound. There's another painting underneath this one. Myra's breath caught. Under the paint? Yes, Clara said. He painted over it. Myra's mind raced. Painted over what? Clara's eyes filled with something like shame. Over me. Mira took a step back. You're already here. Not like this, Clara whispered. Not the way I was when he finished. Mira looked at the surface of the canvas again. It didn't look thick, but now that she was really staring, the paint did seem uneven in places, layered. He hid something under you, Mira said. Clara nodded slowly. He always does. Myra's hands trembled. How do I see it? The whisper hesitated. You have to remove the lie. Mira exhaled shakily. Remove the paint. Clara said nothing. Mira walked into the kitchen and grabbed a small knife. Then she stopped. Her hands were shaking too badly. No, she whispered. I can't just destroy you. Clara's voice was gentle now. You're not destroying me, she said. You're freeing me. Mira swallowed. She took a deep breath and brought the blade close to the edge of the canvas. She didn't cut. She scraped. Very carefully. A thin curl of dry paint lifted away. Mira flinched. Nothing happened. She scraped again. More paint peeled. And underneath was a different color. Darker. Redder. Her breath caught. She kept going. Slowly. Patiently. And then she saw it. Not a face. Not a room. But a shape. A shape that made her blood turn cold. Two hands. Painted in dark red. Pressed against glass. Like someone trapped behind it. Mira staggered back. Oh my God. Clara's whisper was louder now. He painted me after, she said. After I tried to get out. Myra's heart was pounding. Out of what? Clara's eyes locked onto Myra's. Out of him. Mira backed away from the table. You're saying he did this to you? Clara's voice broke. He never wanted me to leave. The room felt smaller. Closer. Then Mira noticed something else. Beneath the painted hands. Letters. Not faded. Not hidden. Carved into the original layer of paint. Mira leaned in and read. Julian did this. Mira covered her mouth. Her eyes filled with tears. Clara wasn't just trapped. She had tried to tell the truth. And Julian had buried it. Under another painting. Under another lie. Mira stepped back, shaking. I have to tell someone, she whispered. The whisper came immediately. No. Mira froze. No, she repeated. He'll know, Clara said. And he'll come. Myra's heart sank. He's already looking, Clara added softly. Mira felt a chill run down her spine. Looking for what? For me, Clara said. And now, her eyes lifted. For you. Mira didn't sleep that night. She sat on the couch with the lights on, the painting across the room like a living thing, watching her. Every time she blinked, she expected Clara's eyes to move again. Every time the pipes creaked, she thought someone was standing outside her door. He's already looking. Clara's words echoed in her mind. Mira rubbed her arms. The air felt colder than before. Thicker. Like the apartment itself was holding its breath. At dawn, she stood up. I'm not hiding anymore, she whispered. She walked to the table where the painting lay face up, the scraped corner still showing the red hands and the carved words, Julian did this. Clara's face looked peaceful now. Too peaceful. Clara, Mira said softly. What else is under you? The woman in the painting didn't answer right away. Then, slowly, her eyes shifted. There's more, she whispered. Myra's stomach tightened. More what? The truth, Clara said. The part he never wanted anyone to see. Mira grabbed the knife again. Her hands still shook, but not as badly as before. She leaned over the canvas and began scraping again. The top layer of paint came away in thin flakes. White. Beige. Skin tones. Mira worked carefully, slowly revealing more of the darker layer beneath. Then she saw it. An eye. Not Clara's soft, sad eye. This one was wide, terrified, painted with thick, frantic strokes. Mira gasped. That's not you, she whispered. Clara's voice came low and broken. No. Mira scraped more. A nose. A mouth. Open. Screaming. Mira stumbled back. On the hidden layer of the painting was another face. Not calm. Not beautiful. Not still. This face was frozen in panic. Its eyes were begging. Its mouth was stretched in a silent scream. And slowly, horrifyingly, Mira realized something. The face underneath was the same woman. It was Clara. But alive. And terrified. Mira felt tears sting her eyes. This is you, she said. This is what you really looked like. Clara whispered, this is who I was, the night he finished the painting. Myra's heart dropped. What do you mean, finished? Clara didn't answer. So Mira kept scraping. The more she uncovered, the worse it became. The hidden painting showed a small room. No windows. Bare walls. And Clara standing in the center of it. Her hands were pressed against something invisible. Glass. Myra's voice shook. He trapped you. Clara's whisper cracked. He called it his studio. Mira scraped the last layer from the face. and then she saw it. Something that made her breath stop. Behind Clara, in the hidden painting, was a shadow. A man's shadow. Tall, broad shoulders, holding a brush, standing just out of the light, watching her. Mira felt sick. "That's him," she whispered. Clara's voice trembled. "He never painted what people saw," she said. "He painted what he owned." Mira clenched her fists. "You weren't his to own." Clara didn't respond. Then her eyes slowly lifted, and locked onto Myra's. "He said the only way to keep something beautiful is to stop it from changing." Mira swallowed hard. "And how did he stop you?" Clara's whisper was barely there. "He made me still." Mira stumbled back into the couch. Her chest hurt. Her head felt too full. "He killed you," she whispered. Clara didn't deny it. "He didn't mean to," she said. Mira looked up sharply. "He didn't mean to. He said it was an accident," Clara replied. "He said I moved." Myra's hands clenched into fists. "So he painted over the truth." Clara nodded. "He painted me calm," she said. "He painted me quiet. He painted me beautiful." Mira stood again. "And he buried the real you underneath." "Yes." Mira stared at the canvas. Two Claras. One lying, one screaming. "She shouldn't exist," Mira whispered. Clara's voice trembled. "That's why he hit her." Mira felt a cold rage rise in her chest. "And now he wants you back." Clara's eyes darkened. "He doesn't want me," she said. "He wants what I am." Mira frowned. "What are you?" Clara's whisper was slow. A reminder. Myra's phone buzzed on the table. She jumped. Her heart slammed into her ribs. She picked it up. Unknown number. Mira stared at it. Then, against her better judgment, she answered. "Hello?" Silence. Then breathing. Slow. Deliberate. Myra's blood ran cold. "Who is this?" A man's voice came through the speaker. Low. Calm. "I believe you have something that belongs to me." Mira couldn't breathe. Clara's eyes snapped toward the phone. "Don't tell him," she whispered. Mira swallowed. "I don't know what you're talking about." The man chuckled softly. "Oh," he said, "you do." Myra's hand trembled. "Who are you?" The voice smiled. "Julian." Mira felt the room tilt. "Julian Whitmore. I've been looking for my wife," he said gently. "And I think you found her." Myra's mouth went dry. "She's not yours," Mira whispered. Julian laughed. "Everything I paint is mine." The call went dead. Mira stared at her phone. Her pulse roared in her ears. Clara's whisper filled the room. "He's close," she said. Mira looked at the door. At the windows. At the walls. "How close?" Clara's eyes shifted toward the painting's frame. "He's already inside your life." Myra's breath caught. "Inside? How?" Clara's voice was almost a sob. "He always was." Mira stepped back slowly. Her gaze returned to the hidden painting, to the screaming face, to the shadow of the man with the brush. And suddenly she realized something worse than fear. Julian hadn't just painted Clara. He had learned how to trap people inside his art. And Clara wasn't the first, nor would she be the last. Mira didn't move for a long time after the call ended. Her phone lay on the table like a dead thing. Julian. The name echoed in her skull. Clara's eyes followed Mira as she slowly turned away from the painting and scanned the apartment. The walls looked the same. The furniture hadn't shifted. The windows were still locked. But something felt off. Not wrong in a loud way. Wrong in a quiet way. Like the air itself had been rearranged. "Clara," Mira whispered. "What do you mean he's inside my life?" The woman in the painting didn't answer right away. Then the lights flickered. Just once. Myra's breath caught. The hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen stuttered, then went quiet. The apartment fell into a thick, unnatural silence. Clara's whisper came soft and frightened. "He brings pieces of himself wherever he goes." Mira swallowed. "What pieces?" "The ones that don't age," Clara said. Myra's heart pounded. She took a step toward the hallway. The floor creaked. Not the normal, familiar creak. This one sounded delayed, as if the wood was deciding whether or not to respond. "Clara," Mira said, louder now. "What did he do to this place?" Clara's eyes were fixed on the wall beside the painting. Mira followed her gaze. At first, she saw nothing. Then she saw it. A faint line in the paint. Like a crack. Except, it was moving. Slowly. Crawling upward like a living thing. Mira felt her knees weaken. "What is that?" Clara's voice trembled. "He's making room." Mira took a step back. For what? For what he left behind. The line in the wall widened. The paint bubbled. And then, a shape began to press through. Not a hole. Not yet. More like a shadow trying to remember what it used to be. Mira gasped and stumbled back into the couch. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." The shape withdrew. The wall smoothed itself out again. Perfect. Like nothing had happened. Myra's breathing came fast and shallow. "You saw it too, didn't you?" she said. Clara's eyes were wet. "Yes." Mira wrapped her arms around herself. "Is he here?" Clara hesitated. Then she said, "Not his body." Myra's heart sank. "Then what?" "His work," Clara whispered. Mira didn't leave the apartment that day. She couldn't. Every time she went near the door, something made her stop. The lock felt warmer than it should. The handle, heavier. As if someone had been holding it just moments before. She paced the living room, trying to ignore the painting. Trying not to listen for whispers in the walls. At sunset, she noticed something else. Her reflection. In the mirror above the sink. She looked normal. Tired eyes. Messy hair. But when she turned away, the reflection didn't. It stayed. For half a second too long. Mira spun back. The mirror showed only her again. She felt sick. "Clara," she whispered. "Is he doing this?" Clara's voice was tight. "He's learning you." Myra's stomach dropped. "What does that mean?" "It means he's studying how you move," Clara said. "How you look. How you belong in this space." Mira felt tears sting her eyes. "So he can..." "What?" Clara's whisper was barely sound. "So he can decide where to put you." Mira shook her head. "No, no, I'm not staying here." She grabbed her keys, her bag. She walked to the door and unlocked it. The hallway outside was dark. Too dark for the middle of the evening. The light fixture overhead flickered weakly. Mira stepped into the doorway. Then she froze. The hallway wasn't the hallway. The walls were closer. The ceiling lower. The carpet darker. Like the building had been repainted, incorrectly. Mira took a step forward. The door behind her slammed shut. She screamed. She spun around and grabbed the handle. It didn't turn. She was locked in. "Mira," Clara whispered from the painting behind her. "Don't let him change where you are." Mira pounded on the door. "Let me out." The hallway stretched. Not physically, but visually. Like a bad dream. The end of the hall seemed farther away now than it had a second ago. Myra's breath came in gasps. "This isn't real," she whispered. Clara's voice was shaking. "It's his kind of real." Mira turned and ran back into the apartment. The door opened easily from the inside. She slammed it shut and locked it. She slid down against it, sobbing. "He's inside my house," she cried. Clara whispered, "He's inside your story." Night came too fast. The shadows in the apartment felt thicker than before, deeper. Mira sat on the couch, staring at the painting, her heart pounding. The hidden image beneath it, the screaming Clara, the shadow with the brush, felt closer now. Like the layers were thinning. "Mira," Clara said suddenly. Mira jumped. "Yes? There are others," Clara whispered. Mira frowned. "Others?" "Other paintings," Clara said. "Other rooms. Other people." Myra's breath caught. "He did this more than once." Clara nodded. "I wasn't the first." Mira felt a chill crawl up her spine. "And now he's coming for me." Clara's eyes softened. "He already has you." Mira shook her head violently. "No, I'm not his." Clara's whisper grew stronger. "Then you have to stop being just a viewer." Mira stared at her. "What do I do?" Clara hesitated. Then she said, "You have to step into the truth." Myra's stomach dropped. "Step into it?" Clara's gaze flicked to the painting, to the hidden layer beneath, to the screaming face, to the shadow of the man with the brush. "You have to see what he sees," Clara said. Mira felt a wave of fear crash over her. "You're asking me to walk into the painting." Clara's voice was calm but sad. "I'm asking you to walk into his world." Mira stood slowly. Her legs felt weak. She approached the canvas. The air around it felt colder, thicker, like it was holding its breath. She reached out. Her fingers hovered inches from the painted surface. "Clara," she whispered. "If I touch it, can I come back?" Clara didn't answer. The silence stretched. Then the whisper came. "I never did." Mira closed her eyes. Tears slipped down her cheeks. She pressed her hand against the painting. The surface wasn't hard. It was warm, soft, and slowly, it began to pull her in. Mira felt herself falling. Not down, not forward, but through. The painting swallowed her hand, then her arm, then her shoulder like warm, breathing skin. She tried to pull back, but the surface tightened around her, gently but firmly, as if it had been waiting for her. "Mira," Clara's voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere. Then the room vanished. She landed on her knees. The floor beneath her was cold concrete. The air smelled like oil paint, dust, and something faintly metallic. Mira lifted her head. She was standing inside the hidden painting. The room from the lower layer. No windows. Bare walls. Dim yellow light hanging from a single bulb in the ceiling. In front of her was the image she had only seen in paint. Clara. Not the calm Clara. Not the quiet one. This Clara was real. Breathing. Standing against an invisible wall. Her hands pressed flat in front of her like she was trapped behind glass. Her eyes met Myra's, and they widened. "Mira," she whispered. Mira staggered to her feet. You're alive." Clara shook her head slowly. "Not the way you are." Mira reached out, but her fingers stopped inches from Clara's hands. An invisible barrier. "I can't touch you," Mira said. Clara swallowed. "He doesn't allow it." Myra's heart pounded. "Where are we?" Clara's eyes flicked around the room. Inside one of his memories. Mira frowned. "Julian's?" Clara nodded. "He paints what he remembers. He traps what he regrets." Myra's stomach twisted. "So he trapped you." Clara's voice was soft and broken. "He trapped what he couldn't undo." A sound echoed through the room. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, coming from somewhere beyond the walls. Clara's face drained of color. "He's here." Myra's heart slammed into her ribs. "No, not yet." Clara grabbed the invisible wall with trembling hands. "He always knows when someone sees the truth." The footsteps grew closer. Mira turned in a circle, searching for a door. There wasn't one, just blank walls. Then, a shape began to form in the corner of the room. Not appearing, being painted in real time. Brushstrokes formed in the air. Dark lines, broad shoulders. A man's silhouette slowly emerged, as if someone was painting him into existence. Mira covered her mouth. "Oh God." The final stroke formed his face. Julian Whitmore. He stepped forward out of the wall like it was mist. Tall, calm, perfectly dressed. His eyes were gentle. Too gentle. "Mira," he said softly. "You shouldn't have come in here." Mira felt frozen. "You're not real," she whispered. Julian smiled. "Oh, I am," he replied. "Just not in the way you understand." He turned his head and looked at Clara. "Hello, my love." Clara flinched. "Don't call me that." Julian sighed, almost sadly. "You never liked that." Mira stepped in front of Clara. "Stay away from her." Julian's eyes shifted to Mira, and softened. "That's very brave," he said. "Very foolish." Mira swallowed. "You murdered her." Julian tilted his head. "No," he said calmly. "I preserved her." Myra's fists clenched. "You trapped her in a painting." Julian smiled faintly. "And she'll never age. Never leave. Never stop being beautiful." Mira shook her head. "That's not love." Julian stepped closer. "That's control," he said. "And control is the only thing that lasts." Clara whispered. "You were afraid." Julian's eyes darkened. "I was afraid of losing you. So you made sure I never could," Clara replied. Julian didn't deny it. He turned back to Mira. "You don't belong here," he said. "But you've seen too much to walk away." Mira felt a chill. "What are you going to do to me?" Julian's lips curved slightly. "I'm going to paint you." Myra's breath hitched. "I won't let you." Julian raised a hand. "You already did," he said softly. "The moment you touched the canvas, the walls around them began to change. Color bled into them. New shapes formed. A new room was being created." Myra's heart pounded. "Clara," she whispered. "What do I do?" Clara's eyes filled with tears. "You don't let him finish." Julian stepped back and lifted an invisible brush. The air shimmered. Mira felt something pulling at her face, at her body, like her reflection was being peeled away. She screamed. "No!" Clara slammed her hands against the invisible barrier. "Stop it." Julian didn't even look at her. "Mira," he said gently. "Hold still." Mira felt her knees weaken. Her skin tingled. Her edges felt softer, like she was being blurred into paint. She forced herself to stand. "You can't have me." Julian's eyes narrowed. "Everyone belongs somewhere." Mira looked at Clara, at the fear in her eyes, at the prison she had lived in for 15 years. Mira took a shaking breath. "Then I choose where I belong." And she ran. Straight at Julian. He didn't expect it. She passed through him like smoke. The room flickered. The walls trembled. Julian turned sharply. "Stop." Mira slammed into the wall behind him. The surface rippled. She pushed, and the wall bent. Clara gasped. "Mira, that's the edge." Mira pressed harder. The wall peeled open like wet paper. Light burst through. Real light. Hard. Gasping. The painting lay in front of her. Still. Silent. The scraped corner still showing the hidden hands. Mira rolled onto her back, sobbing. "I'm out," she whispered. She looked up at the painting. "Clara?" "Nothing." The calm Clara stared back at her. Quiet. Beautiful. Still. Myra's heart sank. "No, no, no, no." She crawled to the painting. "Clara, talk to me." The canvas stayed silent. Too silent. Myra's breath trembled. Then, a knock echoed through her apartment door. 3 slow knocks. Mira froze. Her blood turned to ice. A man's voice came through the door. Polite. Familiar. "Mira, I believe you still have something that belongs to me." Mira didn't answer the door. She sat frozen on the floor, her back against the wall, staring at the handle like it might turn on its own. 3 knocks. Slow. Patient. Julian wasn't in a hurry. "Mira," he called softly from the other side. "You don't have to be afraid." Her hands trembled. "You're already afraid," he added. "That means you understand me." Mira closed her eyes. "Go away." Silence. Then, the lock clicked. Not loudly. Not violently. Just, effortlessly. Myra's eyes flew open. The door opened. Julian stepped inside like he owned the place. He looked exactly like he had inside the painting world. Calm, elegant, unhurried. His eyes moved over the room, then settled on the painting. A smile touched his lips. "There you are," he murmured. Mira scrambled to her feet. "Don't touch it." Julian turned to her. "I never do," he said. "I let it come to me." Myra's stomach twisted. "You killed her." Julian sighed. "You keep using that word," he said gently. "I saved her from being forgotten." Mira shook her head. "You trapped her." Julian stepped closer. "I protected her from time." Mira felt tears burn in her eyes. "You destroyed her life." Julian stopped inches away from her. "And gave her eternity," he said quietly. He turned back to the painting. "Hello, Clara," he whispered. The calm face didn't move, didn't speak. Julian's eyes narrowed. "She's quiet," he said. Myra's heart dropped. "You did something to her." Julian glanced at Mira. "You did," he replied. "You pulled her out of the frame." Mira shook her head. "I brought her back." Julian smiled faintly. "No," he said. "You interrupted her." Mira felt sick. "What does that mean?" Julian walked around the room, inspecting the walls, the furniture, the mirror. "You don't understand how the paintings work," he said. "They're not prisons." Mira scoffed. "They looked like prisons to me." Julian stopped at the mirror. "They're memories," he said. "Places where people stay exactly as they were when I loved them most." Myra's voice cracked. "You loved her while she was terrified." Julian's reflection met her eyes in the mirror. "Yes," he said calmly. "Because fear is honest." Mira felt her knees weaken. "That's sick." Julian turned. "That's art." Julian walked back to the painting and ran his fingers gently along the frame. "You want to know about the others?" he asked. Mira froze. "The others?" Julian nodded. "You saw one," he said. "You just didn't recognize her." Myra's mind raced. "In the wall," she whispered. "The shape in my apartment." Julian smiled. "That was Lydia." Myra's chest tightened. "Who is Lydia?" Julian looked thoughtful. "She lived in this building once," he said. "3rd floor. Apartment 3B. She wanted to leave." Mira swallowed. "What did you do to her?" Julian met her eyes. "I listened." Myra's blood ran cold. "You painted her too." Julian nodded. "Everyone who leaves me becomes art," he said. "It's the only way they stay." Mira shook her head. "You don't get to decide that." Julian tilted his head. "Everyone decides something," he said. "I just decide what lasts." Julian walked to the table where Mira had left the printed article about Clara. He picked it up. "Read it." Smiled faintly. "They never knew what happened to her," he said. Mira whispered. "They knew she disappeared." Julian shook his head. "They knew she was gone," he corrected. "Not where she went." He placed the article back down. "You want the truth, Mira?" he asked. Myra's voice shook. "I already know the truth." Julian's eyes darkened. "No," he said softly. "You know my version." Mira looked up. "Then tell me the real one." Julian exhaled slowly. "Clara didn't die the night I painted her," he said. "She crossed over." Mira frowned. "Crossed over into what?" Julian gestured to the painting. "Into something better than a body." Mira felt sick. She was alive in there. Julian nodded. "Alive without pain," he said. "Without time." Myra's voice broke. She was trapped. Julian stepped closer. She was kept. Mira felt tears spill down her cheeks. You don't hear yourself. Julian studied her. I hear you, he said. And that's why you're interesting. Myra's breath caught. What does that mean? Julian smiled. You don't belong in a frame yet. Mira stepped back. Yet? Julian's eyes glowed with something like hunger. You still have too much movement in you. Julian turned toward the door. I won't take the painting today, he said. Myra's heart raced. You're leaving? Julian paused. For now. Mira exhaled shakily. Why? Julian looked back at her. Because I like watching the moment when people realize the truth, he said. And you're very close. Mira swallowed. Close to what? Julian's voice dropped. Close to understanding that you can't save them. Mira shook her head. I can save Clara. Julian smiled. No, he said softly. You can only replace her. He opened the door. Then stopped. One more thing, he added. Mira tensed. You already brought one of my memories into your home, Julian said. Now your home belongs to me. He stepped into the hallway. The door closed behind him. Mira stood shaking. The room felt colder. Smaller. The walls hummed softly, like they were listening. Mira turned to the painting. Clara, she whispered. He's lying. I can still help you. The calm face stared back. Silent. Too silent. Mira sank to her knees. I won't let him take you again, she cried. And somewhere deep inside the walls, something shifted. Mira didn't leave the apartment for 3 days. Not because she didn't want to. Because she couldn't. Every time she tried, the hallway shifted. The door opened to places that weren't there before. Once, it led to a long white corridor with no doors at all. Another time, it opened into a room filled with half-finished paintings, and people inside them, watching her. Mira slammed the door shut and fell to her knees. I understand, she whispered to the walls. I won't run. The apartment felt calmer after that, like something had accepted her answer. On the 4th night, the painting changed. Not dramatically, not violently. Clara's calm face simply blinked. Mira gasped and rushed forward. Clara. The woman's eyes focused. For the first time since Mira had returned from the painting world, Clara spoke again. Mira, she whispered. You broke the seal. Myra's breath trembled. What seal? Clara's gaze dropped to the scraped corner of the canvas. The lie, she said. You opened the truth. Mira swallowed. I thought I lost you. Clara's voice cracked. I was stuck between. Myra's eyes filled with tears. Between what? Between being a memory, and being a warning. Mira leaned closer. Then be the warning, she whispered. Tell me everything. Clara was quiet for a moment. Then she began. Julian doesn't just paint people, Clara said. He paints moments. Mira frowned. What kind of moments? The ones people want to erase, Clara replied. Fear. Guilt. Shame. Regret. Myra's stomach twisted. He traps them in those moments. Yes, Clara said. And the canvas becomes a door. Myra's voice shook. A door to where? To a place where time can't move forward, Clara whispered. Only around. Mira felt cold. So people inside just stay. Clara nodded. They relive the same second forever. Myra's eyes widened. That's torture. Clara's voice broke. He calls it preservation. Mira clenched her fists. And how does he do it? Clara hesitated. He needs consent. Mira froze. Consent? Yes, Clara said softly. Not spoken. Emotional. Mira shook her head. What does that mean? Clara met her eyes. It means you have to believe you belong to him. Mira felt sick. He made you believe that. Clara nodded slowly. He told me I was nothing without him, she said. That no one else saw me like he did. That the world would break me. Mira whispered, so when you were afraid to leave, I was already his, Clara said. Myra's heart ached. So the moment you believed him, he could paint you. Clara nodded. That's when the door opened. Mira sat back. Julian hadn't just trapped people. He convinced them to walk into their own cages. Mira stood up, shaking. So how do I stop him? Clara looked at her sadly. You can't destroy the paintings. Myra's heart sank. Why not? Because they're not just paint, Clara said. They're contracts. Mira frowned. Contracts with who? With the part of the person that gave up, Clara whispered. Mira felt tears slide down her cheeks. So I can't save you. Clara's eyes softened. You can, she said, but not the way you want. Mira stepped closer. Tell me. Clara took a breath. You have to break his power. Mira whispered, How? Clara's gaze shifted to the mirror. To break his power, you have to make him doubt his ownership. Myra's heart pounded. How do I do that? Clara said, you have to take something from him that he believes is already his. Myra's breath caught. Like what? Clara looked at her. You. Myra's stomach dropped. He thinks he already owns me? Clara nodded. He's waiting for you to accept it. Mira shook her head. I never will. Clara's voice was gentle. You already have. Mira froze. What? You stopped leaving, Clara said. You stopped fighting the walls. You let the house decide. Myra's throat tightened. I didn't have a choice. Clara whispered, you always do. Mira backed away. No, I'm not his. Clara's eyes filled with tears. Then prove it. Myra's heart hammered. How? Clara whispered, you have to walk out of the door, and mean it. Mira looked at the door. Her legs felt heavy. What if it changes again? Clara said, then you push through it. Mira swallowed. And if it doesn't let me? Clara's voice broke. Then you're already gone. Mira stared at the painting. At Clara. At the truth inside the canvas. You're asking me to risk everything. Clara whispered, that's what leaving is. Mira closed her eyes. Tears slid down her cheeks. I don't want to become like you. Clara smiled sadly. Then don't stay. Mira took a deep breath. She walked toward the door. Her hand hovered over the handle. The air felt thick, heavy, like the house was waiting. Mira whispered, I don't belong to you. She turned the handle. The door opened. And this time, it led to the real hallway. Normal. Bright. Unchanged. Myra's breath caught. She stepped forward. The house didn't stop her. Clara whispered behind her, now he'll come. Mira turned back. What? Clara's eyes were full of fear. He won't let you go. The lights flickered. The walls hummed. And from somewhere deep inside the building, footsteps began to climb the stairs. Slow. Deliberate. Coming for her. Mira didn't run. Not when she heard the footsteps on the stairs. Not when the lights in the hallway flickered. Not when the air itself seemed to lean toward her. She stood just outside her apartment door, her hand still on the handle, her heart beating so hard she thought it might break her ribs. Clara's voice echoed in her mind. Now he'll come. The footsteps stopped on her floor, right outside her door. Mira, Julian's voice said softly from the other side. You're doing very well. Mira swallowed. I don't belong to you. There was a pause, then a quiet laugh. Not yet, Julian replied. But you're learning. The handle turned. The door opened. Julian stepped into the hallway, as calm and elegant as ever. His eyes scanned Myra's face, her shaking hands, the fear she couldn't hide. He smiled. You finally chose the door that leads out, he said. That took courage. Mira didn't answer. Julian tilted his head. Did you think I wouldn't notice? Myra's voice came out hoarse. Notice what? That you're trying to leave my world, he said. Mira took a step back. This isn't your world. Julian's eyes darkened. It becomes mine when people stop fighting it. He gestured down the hallway. Walk with me. Mira shook her head. I'm not going anywhere with you. Julian smiled gently. You already are. The hallway changed. The walls stretched. The ceiling lowered. Paint began to creep along the edges like living shadows. Myra's heart slammed. No, she whispered. Julian walked forward, and the hallway moved with him. Mira was trapped inside it. You see, Julian said calmly, this is what the paintings are hiding. Myra's chest felt tight. Hiding what? Julian stopped. He turned to face her. They hide the moment people stop believing in themselves. Mira shook her head. That's not art. That's abuse. Julian studied her. Is it? He asked. Or is it honesty? He raised his hand. The wall beside them peeled open like paper. Behind it was a room. A studio. Huge, dimly lit, and filled with paintings. Hundreds of them. Each one with a person inside. Some standing. Some sitting. Some crying. Some screaming silently. All of them alive. Mira covered her mouth. Oh God. Julian gestured. My collection. Mira felt tears spill down her cheeks. You did this to all of them. Julian nodded. They wanted to belong to something. Mira whispered. They wanted to be loved. Julian looked at her. Same thing. Mira stepped into the studio. The people inside the paintings turned their eyes toward her. Not begging. Not shouting. Just watching. Like they'd already given up. Julian followed her in. This is the truth the painting was hiding, he said. Not just Clara. Not just Lydia. All of them. Myra's chest hurt. Why are you showing me this? Julian's voice softened. Because I want you to understand what you're walking away from. Mira turned to him. I don't want your world. Julian's eyes narrowed. You say that now. He stopped in front of a large canvas. A man inside it looked no older than 20. His eyes were empty. This is Thomas, Julian said. He wanted to be famous. Mira whispered, so you made him art. Julian nodded. He belongs to everyone now. Mira clenched her fists. No. Julian stepped closer. She wanted to stop hurting. Mira felt her eyes burn. So you stopped her from living at all. Julian didn't answer. He lifted his hand. And suddenly, a new blank canvas slid out from the wall behind him. Clean, white, waiting. Julian looked at Mira. This is where you belong. Mira's heart stopped. No. Julian's voice was calm. You're already halfway inside. Mira shook her head. I walked out the door. Julian smiled faintly. You walked into me. The canvas behind him shimmered. Mira felt a pull in her chest. In her bones. Like something was trying to turn her into color. She screamed. No. Julian stepped forward. Hold still, he said. Mira backed away. I choose myself. The pull weakened. Julian froze. His eyes widened slightly. What did you say? Mira stood taller, even as her body shook. I choose myself, she repeated. The canvas behind Julian flickered. The people in the paintings began to move. Just a little. Julian's face changed. Not calm anymore. Not perfect. Afraid. You don't get to choose, he said sharply. Mira met his eyes. I already did. The studio trembled. Cracks formed in the walls. The paintings began to whisper. Julian stepped back. No, he breathed. You're breaking the contract. Mira felt something inside her snap free. The pull vanished. She turned and ran. The studio warped around her. The hallway reappeared. The apartment door slammed open. Mira burst through, and fell back into her living room, gasping, crying, alive. The painting of Clara hung on the wall, cracked. A long fracture ran straight through the canvas. Mira looked up at it. Clara? The calm face slowly smiled. Not painted. Real. Mira, she whispered, you showed them how. Myra's breath caught. How to what? How to remember they're still alive. The walls around the painting began to shake. Somewhere inside the building, glass shattered. Julian screamed. Not calm. Not gentle. Human. The building was screaming. Not with sound. With movement. The walls trembled like they were trying to remember what they used to be. Paint peeled. Frames rattled. The air itself felt unstable, like reality was losing its grip. Mira stood in the center of her living room, shaking, staring at the cracked painting of Clara. You did this, Mira whispered. Clara's eyes were alive now, not just moving, aware. You did, Clara said softly. You reminded us who we were. A crash echoed from the hallway. Glass shattered. Julian was coming. The door burst open. Julian stumbled inside. Not calm. Not elegant. His hair was disheveled. His eyes were wild. You ruined everything, he shouted. Mira didn't back away. You did, she said. You ruined lives. Julian laughed. Broken and sharp. They were already broken. Myra's voice trembled, but she held her ground. They were human. Julian stepped closer. You think you're different? He snarled. You think you won because you said one brave sentence? Mira swallowed. I won because I chose myself. The cracked painting behind her glowed faintly. The people inside the other paintings, the ones still trapped, began to move. Their eyes opened. Their hands pressed against their frames. Julian turned. No, he whispered. Stay still. They didn't. The studio walls beyond the apartment began to split. Paintings shattered. Figures stepped out of their frames. Weak. Confused. Alive. Myra's breath caught. You're losing them, she said. Julian spun back to her. You did this to me. Mira shook her head. No, you did this to yourself. Julian backed toward the largest blank canvas in the room, the one he had brought with him. I can fix this, he said desperately. I can paint it all back. Mira stepped forward. No more. Julian raised an invisible brush. The air shimmered. He lunged at Mira. She didn't run. She didn't scream. She looked straight at him. You don't own anyone. The brush froze midair. Julian's eyes widened. You're lying. Mira shook her head. You're afraid. Julian screamed in rage and swung. But the paint didn't touch her. It fell. Like dust. Like nothing. Julian stared at his empty hand. No, the canvas behind him began to pull him in. Not gently. Not lovingly. The way he had pulled others. Julian stumbled. What's happening? Myra's voice was soft. You're being remembered. Julian screamed. The canvas swallowed his arm. Then his shoulder. He clawed at the air. Mira, help me. Myra's heart broke. Not for him. For what he had done. She shook her head. This is your choice. The canvas took him. And then it was still. Silence. The building stopped shaking. The air went calm. The people who had stepped out of their frames stood in the hallway, blinking at the world like newborns. Free. Clara's painting glowed brighter. Then, the canvas cracked completely, and Clara stepped out. Not painted, not trapped, real. She fell to her knees, sobbing. Mira rushed to her. They held each other, shaking. You're free, Mira whispered. Clara cried. I forgot what air felt like. Days later, the apartment was empty. No paintings, no whispers, no shadows. Mira stood in the doorway one last time. Clara was beside her, holding a small bag. What will you do now? Mira asked. Clara smiled sadly. Live. Mira nodded. So will I. They stepped out into the sunlight. And for the first time, nothing tried to pull them back. The painting didn't change her life. Her choice did.